This is the mighty 1630 KCJJ, Iowa City.
Merchant and Stalker Jewelers, making memories, making moments.
With a look at your forecast, I'm meteorologist Ashley O'Connor. An enjoyable weekend across the area. We'll have sunshine today with a light northeasterly breeze and highs in the low 80s. Partly cloudy this evening with low temps tonight in the low 60s. Sunny again tomorrow with breezy southeast winds. It will be warmer with highs in the upper 80s. The heat really kicks in on Monday with sunshine and highs in the low 90s. Scattered showers and thunderstorms are likely on Tuesday. That's weather on the mighty 1630 KCJJ. Right now, it's 74.
You're listening to the Suterman Show with Pat Harty on 1630 KCJJ.
This show is brought to you by Deary Brothers. Man, I am taking a beating with the pollen. Show's brought to you by Deary Brothers, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram. A.J. Perez, his great crew. 651 Highway 1 West in Iowa City. Also brought to you by Steve Anderson of Hawkeye Title and Settlement. Brought to you by Mike's Lock and E-Keys for cars. GT Car, his great crew at Supple Siding and Remodeling. 1-800-800-ROSE. And Hawkeye Courier Express. Also brought to you by Big Dog Satellite, Internet and Solar. Don't call an 800 number. Call Kevin and his crew at Big Dog, a premier dish authorized retailer, 338-6600. Hertine and Stocker Jewelers, 101 South Dubuque Street, downtown Iowa City. Cowboy Lawn Care and the Ox Yoke Inn. Here's Thomas Michael Suter, along with Pat Harty, from the soon-to-be-debuted HawkFanatic.com.
Good morning, gentlemen.
I wish it was up right now.
I do, too.
It's kind of weird seeing a huge story like this play out and not really be able to do anything but tweet about it.
So let me get you up partially to snuff here. Big things going on around the Hawkeye program with a number of former players coming out, some of them giving their names, some of them anonymous, about pointing fingers at possible racism within the program. So I'm going to read you a few of the things, and then the last thing I will read you is from Coach Ferentz. But there's a lot more than this, but these are the ones I had time to print off. Okay, from former Hawkeye Manny Rugamba, who, as we know, transferred out of the program. He says, I was lifting in the weight room, and one of the lifts we had to do was open and close your hands in a bowl of rice. While walking to the bowl of rice, one of my black teammates and close friends just left the rice station and was at the bench rack. After benching, there was some rice left back on the bar. Coach Doyle then says, WTF is this S? Clean it up. Player walks over to clean it up and walks away from Doyle. Doyle then says, why you walking with all that swagger? I'll put you back on the streets. Kid comes from a happy home with both parents. A separate incident happened before one of our team lifts. He asked the same player where he was the night before, and the player says, my girl house. Coach Doyle then pulls his pants halfway down to sag off his butt, turns his hat backwards, puts one hand in his pants, and starts to strut while mocking the player. From Amani Hooker. I remember whenever walking into the facility, it would be difficult for black players to walk around the facility and be themselves, as if the way you grew up was the wrong way or wasn't acceptable, and that you would be judged by that and it would impact playing time. Technology let me down on this one, but this was from an anonymous white player. Whenever you walk around the complex, you're always walking on eggshells, and it's a real uncomfortable feeling. In my opinion, I feel like KF and Doyle think they can get away with just about anything. When it comes to the racism inside the complex, I think that mainly comes from the weight room with Coach Doyle. He makes comments and actions and thinks it's almost funny, like he can say whatever he wants. In my opinion, there's a huge problem, and it starts with Kirk Ferentz and Chris Doyle. From former Hawkeye Terrence Pryor. I walked on to the University of Iowa football team beginning in 2009 until I graduated in 2012. While rehabbing after suffering a season-ending injury, I had the following conversation with Coach Doyle. Hey, Pryor, you ever think that football isn't for you? Terrence Pryor, not at all. Why do you say that? Doyle, maybe you should take up rowing or something, you know. Oh, wait, black people don't like boats in water, do they? Me, what? This is one of many racist incidents that black athletes had to deal with during my time there. This is one that Tyler Devine posted that he received from an anonymous player, or from a player who wished to remain anonymous. I won't speak much on it, but I'll just say Iowa is far from the program they seem to be to the average person looking from the outside in. They're very prejudiced, and like James said, the black players are treated very unfairly, and that played a big part in me transferring. Being a black athlete at Iowa, you have to be mentally tough. You never know what experience you're going to have walking in that building daily. There's not one black player on that team who actually enjoys being at Iowa. We just endure it because we know the benefits that come with being an Iowa football player when it comes to the next level. There's a reason Iowa won't allow players to speak out and have freedom of speech on social media sites like Twitter. Because if they gave players that type of platform, things of this nature would come out. The truth. When we are silenced, they control the narrative. Now, that was just a few of them. There were a number of other comments from other Hawkeye players, LeBron Daniel, Mike Daniels, James Daniels,
Torrin Young,
Colin Sandeman. So maybe some fuel to the fire here. Universities with the lowest black male student-athlete graduation rates.
This one I feel bad for not. I was not aware of this, and I should have been.
And the University of Iowa is the 6th worst in the country, behind LSU, Georgia, Florida, Oklahoma State, and UCal Berkeley.
Yeah, it's not good.
And then this is the statement that Coach Ferentz released. I'm saddened to hear these comments from some of our former players. While I wish they had reached out to us directly, I'm thankful that these players decided to share their experiences now. As I said earlier this week, the best way to affect change is by listening. I have started reaching out to them on an individual basis to hear their stories firsthand. Making change that matters involves an open dialogue and possibly some tough conversations. I'm glad to have the opportunity to do just that. As a staff and as leaders, we will listen and take heart the messages we hear. So, that's the sum of it.
The Penn State stuff is as bad as it can get, but as far as just a potentially damaging controversy, this is about as bad as it can get.
Yeah, it is not good.
And they're going to Iowa's going to have to get. They can't do what they've done on some of these recent things where they just let time kind of go by. Remember the delays after? And I understand there's things that go on behind the scenes. You got to meet certain protocol and what have you. But that was good. Kirk released a statement, but there's so
that ain't going to do it.
No, there's so much more to this. I mean, you got to do damage control while you're also. Kirk talked about there's going to be some tough conversations. There's going to be some tough decisions.
Absolutely. And, reading some of those things, you wonder, is the staff going to stay intact?
Well, I'm not here right now ready to say, I don't have my website up right now, so I haven't been but I've been following it, but I'm not ready to say anybody should be fired.
No.
Not yet.
No.
Not yet. But there is certainly reason to look into this thing with a lot of concern.
No, absolutely.
Because regardless what you ultimately decide, you can't change what these young men have said. It's out there.
No, it is out there.
They all felt compelled to say it. And if you read some of those tweets and Instagram posts, there's a lot of anger in those things. Anger and hate and animosity and betrayal. And that's just, you hate seeing that. And then, of course, there's the media's pushing this narrative. Rob Howe's been following it really closely. And some people have accused him of put this story was written by the players in social media.
Rob's doing his job.
He's doing his job and simply putting it on a platform altogether.
Yes.
The players are writing this story.
That's
the former
correct.
players. The media is reacting to this player. This is the new age we live in. The players have taken this story. They're calling the shots on this. They're the ones that are writing this story.
And they have chosen this time to make their feelings known.
Yes, and all Rob wrote was that Iowa has to react. They have to respond. And that's what I would write if I was up and running right now. That's what anybody, I think, with common sense would write.
We posted the tweets of the players, some of them, not all of them.
There's a lot of them.
And we're, why are you posting this?
Because
it's important.
Because
it's turned political. If you look on social media, it's turned. I was called. I think Rob and myself and Doctorman. I saw it coming in here. We were called liberal hacks who've been trying to take the football program down for years. Commie liberal hacks. I mean,
why can't you
that's
be
nonsense.
Why can't you be conservative hacks?
Well,
and try to take. Hello.
Good morning. How come some of these guys didn't speak up earlier?
Well, think about it, Karn. You speak up, you're done here. You're pretty much done. Then you get ostracized by other programs that label you a militant or a troublemaker or soft or whatever. I think that's the risk. These guys came here to try to get to the NFL. They all said, hey, they helped me get where I wanted to go, but it was just rough getting there. So that's part of the answer would be that it's not easier said than done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, does this happen in the pros? I mean, do you have coaches in the pros that talk that way?
I don't know. I've never covered a pro team. And I'm a little different, though, when you're dealing with 25-year-old millionaires who make more money than you. I think there's a little bit of different conversation, but I'm sure there's some pro coaches that are rough.
And do we think this is the only program where this is happening?
I think it's happening pretty much everywhere.
I do, too.
Iowa just is where, for some reason, James Daniels just felt emboldened to say this. Well, this is all in fallout from George Floyd.
Absolutely.
This wouldn't have happened without George Floyd.
Yeah, it's worldwide.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got
what
massive.
What do you get away with by belittling people?
Well, you don't get away with anything.
Well, I assume that Doyle, if all this stuff's true, felt that was his way of motivating and enforcing discipline. And it sounds like these players are saying, this culture that Iowa gets praised for. So, it's good in some ways, but it's just not good if you're a black guy from the inner city who's got different cultural views. If you want to wear tattoos, that's frowned upon. And, I mean, Kirk used to not even let his players have – they used to have to take their earrings off before interviews. Now they've lightened up on that. Now I see some doing – there's a level, and people will counter saying, hey, this is discipline. I get it. But I will say, playing college football shouldn't have to be like the Marines.
No, it shouldn't.
I think there needs to be a little bit of compromise, especially when you rely. I mean, think of Iowa football without African Americans.
And it has to be even-handed with all the players, black, white, Asian, whatever color they are.
But if you're from Detroit,
or wherever they're from.
If you're from Detroit and you take pride in expressing yourself with tattoos, that's your right to do that. And if that upsets some people, the culture here then, to me, needs to start being a little more flexible,
a little more open,
more understanding, a little more open.
Yep. One more statement, Karn, and then I got to move on.
Anything else, Karn?
Well, I was wondering, they said earrings. The football players don't have to take off their earrings when they play?
Well, that's for safety reasons.
Yeah, because I know in basketball you had to do that.
Yeah, that's for safety, so I think it's completely different. I assume that's what you do, but I think Kirk is lighting up on the earring stuff because, I mean, a lot of these players like to wear earrings and they take pride in them. And so
hey, thanks a lot, Karn.
Thanks, Karn. Those are good questions. I mean, but no, she does bring up some good points, but I had a lot of people, if they were so miserable, then why didn't they? Okay, if you start saying your strength coach is a racist, which a lot of them are saying, you're done here. It wouldn't work here anymore. You know?
Think you're a bad apple.
And then I would assume most people would trust Ferentz and the staff over a player, especially now. If James Daniels had left after his second year where he was starting, he'd have some credibility. But if you're a player who's not starting and you make these accusations, you're going to be ostracized.
You sound like you're sour grapes.
Yes.
And absolutely.
It's not easy to transfer under those types of circumstances. So. Because I've had people reach out, man, you wussy reporters, you just turn your blind eye, Ferentz sheep, apologist. Okay, and I'm not making excuses for me and my fellow media people, even though that's what this is going to sound like. We have access on Tuesday afternoon. then we get them after the games. On Tuesday afternoons, Iowa Sports Information people are 4 or 5 of them are right there. Mm-hmm. They're not telling us what to say, but I guarantee if we got into some really race interview, very sensitive racial issues, I think the red flag would show up. I don't know how that would happen. And none of these players ever expressed any frustration to us publicly or on social media. So how are we supposed to know that they were going through this stuff? That's what I'm confused about.
Well, and then the other thing, as far as what they have said publicly in the past, you get what they say on, Twitter or Instagram. Thanks to the University of Iowa, can't thank the coaching
James
staff
Daniels
enough.
That's part of the process.
That's right.
I also think James Daniels was thanking a lot. I think there was a lot of James Daniels' experience. I don't want to speak for him, but that he enjoyed at Iowa, I would assume. I mean, he graduated. I believe he met his wife here. He's married. I mean, he did a lot of great things here. I think he had a specific problem with stuff going on in the football program. And let's face it. I mean, now there's a couple players that have come out and referenced position coaches, too. And, I mean,
I haven't seen those.
There's been, DJ Johnson. I mean, there's been.
I did see that. You're right.
Yeah, there's been one. And then someone even said, was it Cedric Boswell that made reference to Brian Ferentz? He was the one who said he got a tattoo. He's from Detroit. He said he got some tattoo, and Brian Ferentz said that's the stupidest thing. Supposedly that's what he allegedly said. I mean, this stuff's not good. This is as bad as it can get.
No, the Ferentz, and I don't want to make excuses. I don't know, but he might have said that to a white player too.
But I mean, we don't know. There's no white.
You don't know.
There's no white player complaining about him saying that. I mean, but why would you say that? I mean, if a tattoo, I mean.
I don't know.
I mean, if you think tattoos are stupid, I've never had a tattoo. Number one, my dad thought they were stupid, but he never judged anyone who did have them. But the other thing is they hurt.
Well,
they hurt.
Part of this is generational, too, because when I was growing up, okay, in the 50s and early 60s, the only people that had tattoos were lower life people and servicemen.
And bikers.
And bikers, but that was about all. It really wasn't in the general population particularly, and that really hasn't come on until probably the last 20 years.
Oh, at least. I mean, Allen Iverson was in high school almost 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been, yeah.
Hello.
Back in the day when there was a football bubble, I was a delivery driver making a delivery to that area, and I actually witnessed Coach Doyle chase two white student athletes out of the bubble out to the field. So clearly his level of intimidation wouldn't necessarily be considered just towards one race or another, because clearly these guys were scared of him, whatever he was doing.
Oh, I'm sure if you had the time and you could find white players who have stories of frustration or whatever, but I don't know if they'd be centered around racial stuff. But I'm sure there's some Iowa white players that have gone through there that didn't like Doyle. I mean,
the only thing that I saw was from Colin Sandeman, and he didn't.
But his stuff is in response to what's been going on to us. He tweeted that he wished he would have done more when he was here.
Yeah, that's right.
That's pretty strong stuff.
And
Did you see what Julian Vandervelde tweeted? He tweeted like a 6-part, very well said, basically saying, and he's half black. I mean, he just said that he feels so bad that he loved his experience at Iowa. He just loved it, and he feels bad that he did not recognize this was happening to his fellow black teammates. I mean, it's just,
why wouldn't they say something to him?
I don't know. That's a good question. They apparently never did. I'm sure these guys all spoke among themselves.
Well, just because you're black or half black doesn't mean you fit in either. So, I mean,
true.
Yeah, they might not.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
And they all had different experiences, but there does seem to be a unanimity here among a lot of the black players about their experience.
You can't use the disgruntled. James Daniels, Mike Daniels, those guys are about as successful as you can get.
Amani Hooker?
Amani Hooker, another one. They're very successful. So they played a ton here. So playing time and bitterness over issues like that, they're not an issue. I mean, this goes beyond that. This is deeper than that. This is just their experience. They're giving you this impression that the culture at Iowa is very rigid and narrow-minded and not responsive to the needs of African Americans who don't grow up around this place. And that's a bad thing to have to deal with. That's not what you want
Because the funny thing is when you, in the past, when we've heard about the Iowa culture, it's always been very positive. That the culture allows the men, the boys to become men and to learn how more than just play football and be the best they can be. And that's
not all just former white players saying that either.
No,
there's
no.
But, yeah, this is.
Hello.
Good morning, Pat. It's Felicia Goodson.
Oh, hey, how you doing, Felicia? It's time.
Hi, Felicia.
Appreciate you calling in.
How are you guys?
We've been better. This is not a fun topic to talk about, but it's obviously something that needs to be addressed. And
Absolutely.
As the mother of Tyler Goodson, who's going to be a sophomore running back, he's from Georgia. Just what are your thoughts? What can you tell Hawkeye fans right now? How are you feeling right now as all this stuff comes out?
I have to say, the information coming out has been very shocking. One of our first approaches was to just have a conversation with our son to see if he shared any of those experiences. And he really assured us that he, trusts his coaching staff. He has a great working relationship with Coach Doyle, and he didn't share those concerns. So far, he hasn't had that experience. I think I would be doing the former players a disservice to, undermine their concerns.
Sure.
Because I think I said it even on the post on Twitter that, my dad used to always say, where there's smoke, there's generally fire.
Yep.
I think this time really, though, has brought us all to just listen and learn and have eye-opening experiences. And I think the one thing that gives me hope is that I do know that Coach Ferentz is a good leader with a great heart, and he's open, and I think he'll do what's best for the program and for those boys going forward. I can't really speak to, Coach Doyle. I've only met him once. That was, on Tyler's official visit. I didn't personally gather racist intention or underlying racism with him. So I can't really speak to that. So I won't really speak on that any further. But I think sometimes, people say things out of ignorance, or they don't really feel like it's offensive, but you really have offended somebody else.
Yeah.
So I just think going forward, the program probably maybe should just initiate some kind of counsel for the black athletes and, let them voice whatever their concerns are and just fix it. I do think based on what I read, it is fixable. Maybe have some of those older guys to come in and share their experiences and have a, round table and, share how they were offended by, comments or things said. And I do believe that Coach Ferentz will create a culture where they feel more safe and, more comfortable.
Very well
those
said.
Those are great ideas.
No, those are very good ideas, and I agree with everything you said. So was he stunned by this? I mean, this story came out really, this stuff just kind of came out. Was his, when you talked to him, was it more shocked to begin with? Because it sounds like his experience so far has been very good here as a Hawkeye, on and off the field.
It really has, and that was one of the things, we kind of discussed with him. Our first concern was him. Like, are you experiencing this? Has this been your experience? And his exact words was, I totally trust Coach Doyle. Like, he didn't have any concerns or there was no, lack of trust or any hesitance there. I will say about Tyler, his personality is somewhat, when things like this happen and it's a little maybe emotionally overwhelming for him, he kind of withdraws. Okay. So for him, he's not really a social media guy that does a lot of reading, or, he's not going to be probably one of the guys at the protest, or that's just not how his character is, just a little different in that regard, or his personality, should I say. So I couldn't really tell if it was more so shock. Mm-hmm. The one thing that he did mention was that there were, certain rules in place, like, I guess, tattoos and hair and, I guess, do-rags and stuff like that. But, from my perspective, and, some people might find that offensive or, offensive to culture. But, for me and my husband, our take on that is that, that's just a form of dress code. I go to work every day, and I have a dress code. So, and I have to follow that dress code. I don't really feel like that's a form of racism, but for somebody else, they might be offended by you saying, oh, well, I can't wear this, or, I can't wear that. So that was one of the things that he mentioned that people might take as being racially motivated. He didn't feel that way.
Okay.
And so I didn't gather that he was extremely shocked, but I didn't gather that he was affected by it either.
Okay. Now, Felicia, have you lived in Georgia all your life?
No, I am originally from North Carolina, but we've been in Georgia for about 8 years.
So has Tyler told you, is it a lot different down there? I mean, I know the Ahmaud Arbery case was in Georgia. Is it a lot different down there? I'm not saying that he's been subjected to racism or whatever, but, Georgia, there's a lot of controversy that's going on down there right now, and now he's been up here in Iowa City. Has he told you, is it a lot different?
I think the thing is that Tyler has not, to my knowledge, had a real experience yet as an African-American male with police or even in the community we live in. We live in a predominantly white community, but it's a great small community where we're a suburb of Atlanta, and everybody is just loving, caring. It's a lot. Iowa City is really identical to where he's pretty much grown up, where he spent most of his, adolescent years. And so his experience in Iowa has been great so far. I can't say that he shared with us that he's had any experiences. The people have been really nice and have embraced him. And so his view is a little skewed right now, because he hasn't personally had that encounter yet as a black man. And so maybe once he does have that encounter, I hope that he never has to, but when he does, maybe his stance and his view will change. But again, Tyler is just kind of, I'm not going to say probably a conformer. He does what is required of him. He shows up. He does what he's supposed to do, and he goes home. And he's not one that's, really vocal about certain things. His character normally is just to withdraw and get quiet, and that's generally how he, deals with things. And like I said, our first concern was him, and had he experienced these things, and he assured us that he had not.
Well, Hawkeye fans will be glad to hear that.
Good to hear that.
And Tom, Hawkeye fans love Tyler Goodson. I mean,
oh my gosh!
They have really well, and rightfully so. He's really good. I mean, to move past those other three running backs last year, that said a lot, and that doesn't happen very often at Iowa. They honor seniority a lot, but that shows you how good he is. And Felicia, I really appreciate you calling in. Tom, do you have anything else?
Yes, I do. I look forward to doing some hoosah-sahs with you, Felicia, again this fall.
Oh yeah, you tailgate with Tom.
Yes, it's so much fun, and it's really part of the Hawkeye experience that I love, and I hope that we all get a chance to experience that this fall.
Absolutely, I feel the same.
Appreciate you calling in, Felicia. Is there anything else you wanted to say?
No problem. Thank you guys for having me.
Okay,
thank you so
all
much.
right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Stay safe.
Okay, you guys too.
Thank you.
That's my way
Felicia
of saying goodbye
Goodson.
to people during a pandemic now, as I say, stay safe.
Yeah.
I do. I find myself doing that all the time now.
So when this ends, you're going to just say, "Hey, collide with somebody."
Well, I reached out to her on Twitter and said, if you want to call in, feel free. And she's very well spoken. And
yes,
and that's a step in the right direction. And people like Tyler are going to be big in moving forward, on and off the field. And it's just good to hear some positive things from a parent.
It is, and it's very nice to hear.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hey, good morning. Got a couple comments, especially after Tyler's mom called in. I was pretty overwhelmed by what she said, and my first thought was the world would be a lot better place if there were a lot more people like her in the world. Yeah. And he's lucky to have her for his mom.
Very well said.
Yep.
Very well said.
She was very, very impressive in how she explained everything. I'm pretty much awestruck by your call or for calling in today and saying that. And on a different note, I'd like to speculate something. When James Daniels plays for the Bears, and he's introduced, he never says the University of Iowa. He says it's high school.
He does.
I have noticed
and when
that.
all this
he addressed that
I
one.
kind of was wondering if that was part of the deal.
Well, he addressed
I
that.
don't know if you guys have talked about it yet or not, but I'll hang up.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you so
Appreciate it.
much for the call.
The first time that happened, Iowa fans went crazy on Twitter. He responded saying it was nothing. He deflected it saying it was more a tribute to my high school, nothing against Iowa. But now you wonder.
You do wonder.
You put it together. But no, I thought Felicia did a great job of saying, hey, my son hasn't had any of these experiences up at Iowa. I trust these coaches, but I'm not dismissing what these guys are saying because that's not. I think she handled it very well. It was, and I didn't realize she was. How many freaking people do you tailgate with?
Oh, there's
You got a lot.
What is it, Woodstock?
It's just like that. And then this guy
Would you
that
say
looks
50?
like wavy gravy.
Would you say 50?
I would say more than that.
Would you?
I would say maybe
People
75,
in and
80.
out.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of them are a lot of the younger player football parents don't like the Biltons.
Beltons were there last year.
Laportas. Laportas. I met them out at the bowl game, and we started talking about that. And
I mean,
Epi's parents.
Epi's parents, of course.
Bud would send the families flowers when they would commit and come here.
This would be
and I mean he really brought a lot of
Bud.
people.
This stuff would be killing Bud, wouldn't it?
Oh my gosh. Oh, Bud would be.
Yeah, he brought a lot of those,
devastated.
though the players and the families together with these tailgates. Because we've tailgated with I couldn't count how many, families of players over the years.
There's some other players' families that are there too, but I'm right now. That's all.
Do you guys body surf and his mosh pits?
Mosh pit.
Well, we do the Hoosasa.
Who's going to lead that now that Bud's gone?
Nay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nay is kind of the host of, or one of the major hosts of
He
the
was
tailgate.
doing it when Bud couldn't show up at the end. So.
Yeah.
But that was good to hear from Felicia. I appreciate her calling in because this is what's got to have dialogue. The other thing I thought about is I liked her idea of having
a black council
that they can express our concerns. Hey, this is what's kind of transpired over these last couple of weeks. These are the things that maybe we felt were unfair or whatever. Get it out there and instead of letting it build up and whatever. That's a good idea. The other thing I thought Iowa may think about doing is, I know we're starting to open up, so travel's a lot easier. I think you need to get Andre Tippett, Bob Sanders, Merton. Well, Merton Hanks is a commissioner for a conference now. I think you need to get some prominent former black players here to get here and figure out a way to address this thing. And I'm not sure how to do it, but you need to connect with some of your past and use them. I mean, Andre Tippett is he's worked for the Patriots now. I think somehow you need to figure out a way to bridge the gap and get some of these former star players to kind of represent you as sort of a listener to what fellow black players are saying, what their issues are. And I mean, I don't know.
Well, let's hear what Coach Ferentz has to say about exactly that with Andre Tippett. Hang on.
I'd say the vast majority of the guys that have played for us have had great experiences, and I've talked to many of them over the last couple of weeks. It's interesting. Andre Tippett was one of our guest speakers in one of the Zoom meetings with one of our position groups, and I always go back to that only because he was a senior in 1981 when I first got here. And here's a guy who grew up a couple of baseball throws away from the Statue of Liberty, but Iowa has a very fond place in his heart, and he still is very proud of being an Iowa graduate and playing here and all that type of thing. So I think that's the beauty of sports. But it's all, as it pertains to us, it's all about the culture, the environment of our program.
And that was Coach Ferentz. So, it's strange times here indeed. And, gosh, the fall can't get here fast enough.
I hope.
Yeah, it's like now the virus is third in our level of. We got this thing nationally and locally, and then the virus is third.
Do you think the virus is getting pissed that it's dropping down on the pecking order?
Let's hope not. Let's just hope the virus continues to fade away. But
But it's real. I mean,
it's not fading away. It's just that it hasn't resurfaced with a
vengeance.
It's coming back in the south and southeast.
It's just not near the story it was, and it's just not. Hopefully we don't have like it was in late March.
Yeah. Yep.
Let's just hope we don't have that again.
Let's take a quick little break, and then we'll be back with more Hawkeye stuff or whatever y'all want to talk about.
1630 KCJJ is powered by UI Quick Care at the Iowa City Marketplace.
With a look at your forecast, I'm meteorologist Ashley O'Connor. An enjoyable weekend across the area. We'll have sunshine today with a light northeasterly breeze and highs in the low 80s. Partly cloudy this evening with low temps tonight in the low 60s. Sunny again tomorrow with breezy southeast winds. It will be warmer with highs in the upper 80s. The heat really kicks in on Monday with sunshine and highs in the low 90s. Scattered showers and thunderstorms are likely on Tuesday. That's weather on the mighty 1630 KCJJ. Right now, it's 74.
1-800-800-ROSE. 1-800-800-ROSE. Your FTD florist is the only number you need to know to send flowers anywhere in the country or Canada from anywhere in the country. 1-800-800-ROSE. It's so easy. Just remember one number. 1-800-800-ROSE. Your FTD florist. 1-800-800-ROSE. Remember.
Hi, this is Bill Eichstring of the Oxyoke Inn. Our doors are open again. Although the way we serve you is different, we're still here and ready to welcome you. We've learned a lot about keeping you and our staff safe. What hasn't changed is our commitment of trust to you and your family. Our Oxyoke family is ready to take care of you in our 4 dining rooms with the same quality of food, attention to detail, and customer service you've come to trust for the past 80 years. Those values are now more important than ever. Now serving family-style breakfast Saturday and Sunday with lunch, dinner, and banquets daily. Don't forget, you can still order curbside carry-out and take the comforting taste of the Oxyoke home with you to share at your family's table. Visit oxyokeinn.com, Instagram, or our Facebook page for menu and weekly specials. From our Oxyoke family to yours, we can't wait to see you again soon, and we'll be glad you're here at the Oxyoke Inn in the heart of Amana.
The Oxyoke Inn.
Over the years, car keys have gotten extremely complex. Mike's Lock and E-Keys for Cars can generate the most technically advanced automotive keys on the market today. Mike's Lock and E-Keys for Cars can produce most conventional transponder, sidewinder, and remote-headed keys. If you've lost the keys to your car or simply need a duplicate, call 330-9185. Mike's Lock and E-Keys for Cars has the technology to keep you on the road. Call 330-9185 and schedule an appointment today.
Hi, this is Steve Anderson with Hawkeye Title and Settlement in Iowa City. Whether it's a crazy real estate market, record low interest rates, or the COVID-19 virus, we are living in unprecedented times. But know that my remarkable team at Hawkeye is literally working around the clock and in unique and adaptable ways to try to make every deal close smoothly and on time. We appreciate your understanding, patience, and flexibility as we power through this tough time. We're going to get through this together.
Hey, everybody, it's Kevin here from Big Dog Satellite and Solar, your local TV expert, and I want to tell you about Dish TV. If technology, value, and customer satisfaction are important to you, then it's time to cut the cable cord once and for all. Upgrade your TV experience and start saving with Dish today. Drop by Big Dog Satellite and Solar on Blair's Ferry Road in front of Rockwell. Call 395-0800 or visit us on the web at BigDogSatellite.com. We are Big Dog Satellite and Solar, your locally operated and trusted satellite TV experts.
For a gift that your loved one will treasure for a lifetime, find it at our family-owned jewelry store in Iowa City, 13 and Stocker Jewelers.
We can show you diamond engagement rings, colored stones, fashion jewelry, and watches.
Our jewelers are on site, so we can design jewelry for that special person in your life.
We are Hertine and Stocker, serving Iowa City and the surrounding area for 3 generations.
Hertine and Stocker Jewelers, downtown Iowa City, and HertineandStockerJewelers.com. Ask for Willa, Terry, Tim, or Kate. One of us is always there.
Hi, it's Carrie from Deary, Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Iowa City. The governor has deemed our dealership as an essential business, and we are here, business as usual. Well, business practices that are best for these trying times. We will pick up your vehicle, get it serviced, and return it to your home or business. If you see a car you like online, we will bring it to you for a test drive. Anything to keep you safe and satisfied. Our work culture and values are guided by our commitment to customer satisfaction, and as a result, we have earned Chrysler's highest honor, the Customer First Award for Excellence. We are keeping all of our employees working so we can continue to provide the highest level of customer service possible. By giving our customers a great family experience at our dealership, we earn your trust and your loyalty. Deary Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram on Highway 1 in Iowa City, or visit us online at DearyIC.com.
If you're looking for a reliable, affordable lawn care service, you need Cowboy Lawn Care. Cowboy Lawn Care specializes in lawn mowing, weed eating, cleaning flower beds, trimming trees, spring cleanup, and much, much more. Cowboy Lawn Care guarantees their work and are fully insured. Call Johnny at Cowboy Lawn Care at 331-5520. That's 331-5520 for complete, affordable lawn care. Cowboy Lawn Care.
Always local. 1630 KCJJ.
Suterman Show is back with Pat Harty and Suterman.
Oh, let's see. Other former Hawkeye Jordan Lomax. I stand with my fellow Hawkeye brothers.
And hey, not to interrupt Tom, but Jordan
go ahead.
Lomax, wasn't he a graduate assistant for he was a very respected, successful player here, and that one to me was very telling.
I stand with my fellow Hawkeye brothers advocating for a cultural shift in the Iowa football program. We were disproportionately represented as a result of black players leaving prematurely due to either double standards or the inability of the coaching staff to relate with our blank.
Yeah, there was more to it. He wasn't he the one who pointed to the weight room? Jordan Lomax?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This Akram Wadley.
I haven't seen these ones. I heard they came out just recently.
I had good times and bad times while attending the university. The people were always great to me, even the academic staff. Bruno, Mel, Liv, and the others. I enjoyed playing football for the university, and although I have so many stories I can share, I'm not. One time I was leaving the practice field being asked if I was on my way to rob a liquor store or bank because I was wearing that Nike face mask that was given out to every player to keep warm. You know how cold it can get in the winter.
Now, that's a stupid comment to make. He didn't say who said it, so, I mean.
Let's see if there's anybody else.
I mean, obviously it's a lack of awareness, a lack of sensitivity. I mean, just.
Listen, this stuff
is not unique to Iowa.
It isn't unique, and even, since the last, and I'm serious, I never, ever got any hate mail or anything, other than, I hate your show or something. But I mean, I've told you, Tom, and I've got emails, I've got Facebook messages because I'm Jewish, and they point that out, because I express my opinion on the air. You're a Jew, and use all the slant. It's happened in the last 3 years, especially to me. But I imagine it's been going on here with blacks for a long time. I can believe that this is happening, but it's I don't know why we think that we're immune to this stuff. And I mean, we really did think we're kind of immune to this stuff.
Oh, I don't know. No, I wouldn't say that about me. I could see why you would think that, but I don't think that's the case. I just think when it's not, this is only happening because George Floyd died. I don't know if James Daniels, we wouldn't have had the Zoom teleconferences with Kirk about the national anthem and all that stuff without the George Floyd death. So that I think there's just so much that just is festering underneath that only
and it's coming out now.
And it's coming out now. What's happened now is society's woes have seeped into the Iowa football program, and Kirk Ferentz can't control the narrative anymore. I don't mean that saying that he's just this all-controlling.
Right.
What I'm saying is he's going to have to adjust to this. Lots of times he can control. It's his world that he runs there, and I'm not saying he does it unfairly. I still have a lot of respect for Kirk in a lot of ways. As far as Chris Doyle, I don't know him as well as Kirk. Chris has always been respectful to us. We had him on the radio before, but a lot of the stuff that it is true can't be ignored.
No.
And why would these guys make this stuff up? I don't. Why would?
Well, and they're not all lying. I mean,
they can't be.
No,
and it's disturbing.
No, when you got this many people, and when I met immune, I mean maybe like fans. Like
no, I know
Tom
what you mean.
and
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Iowa's roster too. most of the times everyone says, well, it's a 50-50 break. No, it's not. Mm-hmm. Iowa's roster is probably, 70-30? 75-25? Mm-hmm. Rob had some interesting stats in his story. Way more blacks are transferred.
Yes, way more.
And that's concerning, and you can also make excuses. Well, a lot of them come here from different parts of the country, so when they get disgruntled, they want to go back home, whereas a lot of the whites come from Iowa. There's more of a so it's easier. But that's simplifying it. I think there's more to it than that.
But that's
part of it.
Plays into it.
I think it does play into it. A lot of these guys that left were from different parts of the country.
All right. Well, here's Cedric Boswell. My goal of this statement is not aimed to bring down the Iowa football program, but only to ensure that things like this don't happen in the future. I only felt it necessary to share an experience that I have had while being a member of the team. My freshman year being on the campus, I was completely unaware of life living on my own and knew I was in a foreign environment and only wanted to learn the ropes. I was walking in the weight room one day following the rest of the team to do our mandatory weigh-ins that we had every week. There was water available next to the scales that we used, and water was suggested for everyone to make sure that we were hydrated. I was one of the last guys at the time, still trying to get adjusted to the program, so I was rushed and wanted to catch back up with the team after weigh-ins were over, so I did not completely finish the water bottle that I had drunk and threw it away so I wouldn't be late. Coach Doyle saw that. I had thrown away the almost empty water bottle and forced me to dig my hand in the trash can in front of the team. Shortly after, he made a big scene about it as if I was being made an example out of. Let's see, I think there's more. This was a college football weight room where athletes bleed, sweat, and vomit into those trash cans. I also had another encounter with Brian Ferentz later in my career. I had just gotten a brand new tattoo. I am from Detroit, Michigan, where it's a common expression of oneself to get tattoos. The tattoo is a picture of the city that I am from, where I grew up and had most of my memories leading up to this day. Coach had asked exactly what my tattoo was of, and I explained it to him for him to respond saying, "That is the stupidest thing I have ever seen." I truly felt more uncomfortable not speaking on this issue than I did actually stepping up to let people know what was going on. So, that said, Boswell.
It's kind of projecting this image of a lot of just beat down and trying to motivate instead of building up. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I would.
And I didn't think that was as prevalent in the Iowa culture as it apparently is. I get the Kirk's old school in a lot of ways. I get it. Football's a tough sport, discipline, sacrifice, suffering, blood, sweat, and tears. But it just looks like there was a lot of unnecessary beatdown. Some of the stuff, these comments, I don't know what the coaches, if they did happen, what they felt they were gaining by that, besides belittling people. That's what's confusing to me.
Well, Brian Ferentz comment's rude.
It's just rude whether you're it's just rude, and it's mean. It's rude. It's just stupid. I don't know what it accomplishes. You're going to get that person in the mood to play football by saying something like that? I don't get it.
Yeah.
And why would he lie about it,
Well, some of
these
these
guys aren't all lying. No, I mean,
I don't think any of them are lying. I have no reason to think any of them are lying.
Exactly. They're too specific.
Yes.
I
mean, they're too specific, especially with turning the cap around and pulling his.
Yeah, that's
just
rude.
It really is. It's just rude, and it just, to me, it accomplishes nothing. Kind of immature, too. I mean, some of the stuff that Doyle's been accused of is immature, and just...
It's ignorant.
It's ignorant and just not leadership.
Yeah. And disappointing, and...
That's a good word, discouraging.
It is, and hopefully the staff will take heed.
Oh,
this
is not just the staff. This goes all the way up to Bruce Harreld. I mean, this is a major thing that they have to figure out how they're going to move forward with this thing.
More than it's our country.
But of course. But I'm just saying, this local story here, Iowa's got a problem on its hands.
Yes, they do.
This is bigger.
It's going to affect, for some time, it's going to affect recruiting.
Oh, without question. And I will say, I wasn't crazy with the way they handled Rabdo. I thought there was a little bit of they resented too much of people saying, "Hey, this is a big issue," and I think they learned from Rabdo, but like I said, I'm not ready to fire anyone today. I'm just not ready to go there yet. I need more. Now, do you think? What's your thoughts? Do you think Chris Doyle needs to come out and comment? I mean, it's kind of hard now. You can't do press conferences. I mean, what's he going to do? Zoom?
I would kind of think he should say something.
Like a statement, or do you think? I don't think Zoom. Do you think a Zoom call, or what do you think?
No, I think he should make a statement, and that that he's going to take all this stuff to heart and become a better person for it.
Well, he's going to have to.
Oh, he's going to have to do that at the least.
Yeah, he's going to have to be an apology or something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Now, what if he ultimately loses his job? What would your thoughts on that as a diehard Hawkeye fan? I mean,
that would be a pretty serious step. But if Coach Ferentz felt he had to do that, that he knows how serious it is, because he loves what Coach Doyle
without question.
does.
I mean, Chris Doyle is Kirk Ferentz's culture.
I mean,
that's the subplot to this whole story. Will this be in the first paragraph about Kirk Ferentz? First 2-3 sentences?
I hope not.
Or do we not have enough information? Has it not evolved enough?
It hasn't evolved enough. We'll see how the football staff responds to it from here on out, and how the Bruce Harold, what he has to say about it. It's too early.
Yeah.
And I believe that Coach Ferentz will do this properly, and will do it so that it changes going forward, that this kind of thing happens. I think he will get that figured out and nip it in the bud, as Barney Fife would say.
How long has Chris Doyle been here?
Gosh.
He's original staff member. He came with Kirk.
21
going into his 22nd year.
I would not be surprised to see him resign. An apology and a resignation, just to take the.
Okay, that's I could
take the bullet.
Yeah, take the bullet.
I can't imagine financially
I'm sure he's fine.
But he's only 50, early 50s. I mean, his career is by no means. But
he might go somewhere else.
But it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to hire.
Yeah.
Someone. I mean, I'm not saying he's damaged goods, fellas, but he's. I mean.
Well, none of these statements were good.
No.
In favor of Coach Doyle.
Now, Felicia did say that Tyler's had no problems with him, not a lot of interaction with him. But Tyler's story, I mean, but it also sounds like Tyler's somebody who takes care of business and gets his job done. I'm not saying all these other guys didn't. I'm just saying Tyler, it looks like, doesn't give them much reason to call him out for some of these things that are being called out for and what have you. But like Felicia, I just thought what she said was very good. It was very sound. She didn't overreact either way. She trusts what's going on here at Iowa, but she's not going to dismiss other African-American players who had different experiences.
She shouldn't.
And she shouldn't. And
we shouldn't.
And I did. I like that idea of a black, maybe a sixth player.
I thought so too.
Good. Yeah, no, it's a good idea.
Hello.
Hey, guys, this is your caller from Ames. I missed you guys. I know, Tom, you're running through some of these statements, and I read a few this morning. I read one. I don't know if it was Maurice Fleming or who it was that specifically mentioned Kirk, but were there any other statements that maybe I missed that were specifically regarding Kirk?
Not so many.
There were a few.
There was one player that said, like, okay, so what? I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but what specifically was said about Kirk?
One was like, it's like his culture, or something like walking on eggshells or something.
But I mean, that's such a broad brush to pay. I mean, to say we're walking. I mean, I agree with you guys on the Chris Doyle thing. I mean, obviously there's gonna have to be some discipline there. But to paint a broad brush like that about Kirk and say, well, we're walking on eggshells.
That's just what I don't have him in front of me.
This is the white player partial thing that I read earlier. Whenever you walk around the complex, you're always walking on eggshells, and it's a real uncomfortable feeling. In my opinion, I feel like KF and Doyle think they can get away with just about anything. When it comes to the racism inside the complex, I think that mainly comes from the weight room with Coach Doyle. He makes comments and actions and thinks it's almost funny Like he can say whatever he wants. In my opinion, there's a huge problem, and it starts with Kirk Ferentz and Chris Doyle.
Okay, so he says that Kirk Ferentz can get away with anything. Well, what is he getting away with?
Well,
specifically,
he didn't go into detail.
He didn't address that. So I don't. I mean, listen, I'm not trying to sound insensitive towards this either. I just, to me, that's an unfair brush to paint with at this point. To say, well, he gets away with anything. Well, what is he getting away with?
Well,
Besides
saying what he wants to say.
Well, he may say he's getting away with having a weight coach who.
Right. Yes,
I mean,
agree.
the buck stops with Kirk.
What is he saying? You know, give an example of things he's saying. You know, I mean, they've given examples of things that have happened with Chris Doyle. So what has Kirk
But yeah,
done?
most of this has been sent. There was a few more about Kirk, but I don't know. I don't have them in front of me. But yeah, most of these have been centered on the weight room. Yes, without question, most have been centered on the weight room. I mean,
and that's what I guess that's what bothers me. And again, I'm speaking as a white male, so I don't want to sound like I'm not.
And a huge Iowa fan, Kirk Ferentz fan too, right?
Sure, absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And so but at the same time, like I said, I acknowledge what's being said about Chris Doyle is serious, and he needs to be held responsible. But if you're gonna make a comment about Kirk Ferentz, then be specific about it, like you were with Coach Doyle. That's just how I feel about it.
Well, we don't know that he couldn't be. It's just he hasn't.
And not everyone's been specific about Coach Doyle. They've just come out and said, you know, the problem starts in the weight room. I mean, Faith Akakati was the first one to go that way. He basically came out and said what you're saying, Carl. He came out and said, I had no problems with Kirk Ferentz. He's a man of principle, blah, blah, blah. He goes, but if you want to look at anywhere to change at Iowa, it starts with the culture in the weight room. That's kind of was the gist of his stuff. And we reached out. I mean, Tom, I know you reached out. I was having conversations with people close to James Daniels last night. They just are not ready to come on the radio right now. Maybe they will in a couple of days. I gave them every opportunity. And it's different tweeting than it is being interviewed on the radio. Would you agree? And they're just not ready to go there yet. That's what they told me yesterday. And I know you reached out,
yes.
And they just said, you know, with all due respect, we're just not ready for that yet.
Yep.
So how this is maybe just a really stupid question, but how does this sort of thing continue when you have a decent amount of African Americans on staff with Kelton Copeland and Kelvin Bell and Derek Foster? And I mean, how does this continue to happen and not become an internal issue when you have that many African American coaches?
We don't know if it.
And I know Broderick Benz is another guy who's.
We don't know if it hasn't been an internal issue. We don't know. Maybe there has been discussion. Maybe those guys would tell you. I tried to get some of them on the show for Friday. We had Billy Taylor from basketball on the show, but we obviously couldn't. They obviously knew the story was coming up, but we don't know. I mean, we're speculating. Maybe there has been discussion internally about some issues they have, and it finally came out. We don't know.
Yeah, this isn't over.
And some of these assistants, they've been here 2-3 years. They haven't been here for a long time. You know, so no, those are all good, fair, valid questions.
Yeah,
I get.
a lot for
just
the call.
Yeah.
And those are all the things, his concerns. These are things Iowa's, because there's a lot of fans, I'm sure, that feel the same way he does.
Some people pointed out, and it's just bad optics.
Oh, terrible.
For sure.
But they pointed out when Trump came to town and the Iowa athletes, the white Iowa athletes surrounded Trump. And
made me very uncomfortable.
That created uncomfort with the black players as well.
I do remember that. That was some prominent. I mean, C.J. Beathard was part of that.
He had
wasn't
a
he?
jersey number 1 with Trump on the back. Yeah. C.J. Beathard was.
Yeah. And I at the time, you know, my feelings aside about Trump, I don't think it's right for any player to endorse any. And I think I said something. I don't think it's right for them to surround any candidate because they're speaking on behalf of, you know, they're wearing the uniform and representing the university.
Wasn't Trump bought in by Coach Brands and Coach Gable? Weren't they part of the group that bought Trump in?
Yeah.
I thought you guys brought him in. It wasn't you guys?
He was brought in by them and by the chamber.
Man, this hour just flew by.
So,
didn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, this is just it's sad, it's unfortunate, it's disappointing. I mean, but it's something that has to be dealt with. And Gary Barta's got a lot of work. I mean, for Gary Barta, what are you doing, Tom?
Having an instant meeting with Coach Ferentz.
Coach Doyle.
And Coach Doyle. Yeah.
Yeah.
If
it didn't already happen.
And not Zoom. I'm saying in person.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can social distance. They can all sit in the corner.
Sure can.
Yeah, none of this Zoom stuff.
No, this has to be taken with absolutely the utmost urgency.
Hello.
The utmost.
Hey, Tom?
Yeah.
I'm painting my house, and this is fascinating. My wife needed help, and I said, God, can't you wait till this is over? Anyway, wasn't President Trump brought in on an Antifa bus a few years ago?
It could possibly be.
Okay. Listen, is this going to be on a podcast? I don't get to listen in the morning very often.
Yes,
anymore.
it is.
Yeah, it'll be on.
I'm just going to sit down and listen to this. I'm the guy who doesn't like sports, but this is riveting. This should go national.
Yeah, this will be.
Thanks a lot.
This will be on the podcast, which we will be posting shortly, or sending to Tyler to post shortly, and it'll also it's being recorded on YouTube.
So what were you guys before we go? I mean, I can stay a few. I do got to I got to go buy a lawnmower. But what were you guys thinking as this thing kept on, as more tweets came out?
Well, initially, when Faith Ikakete's tweet was posted, the speculation.
You mean James Daniels or
Faith Ikakete's?
Oh, okay.
There was some question about whether it was even negative towards Coach Doyle. It could have been construed that it was a positive if you read again.
Yeah, I didn't see it that way.
I didn't either.
But
some people did.
Really?
What I thought is, okay, it started out being just throwing things out and not being specific, and then some people on Twitter said, well, what happened? Get specific. And then other people fought with him saying, he doesn't have to get specific.
Yeah.
I mean,
Tyler had
I thought, this is not, but yeah, then when more stuff came out last night, I go, I got on the phone with Tommy and I go, man, and I called
needs to be
you.
addressed, yeah.
Well, Tyler posted the thing, the anonymous player, who that player later came out and said, no, it was DJ Johnson. He was so pissed at what people were saying. I mean, he left. He was pissed. He left here not happy. He did not like his experience here, and you can't say playing time. DJ Johnson wasn't he a Big Ten Freshman of the Week one time?
Yes, he was.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
I was just wondering, with Chris Doyle, did he treat the white players the same as he treated those black players that are complaining? Because I know in coaching and stuff, a lot of times you just trash people.
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. And now maybe some white players will come out and say, hey, listen, man, I didn't have the greatest experience with Chris Doyle. Here's some things he did to me. Then it comes a situation, okay, maybe he's not a racist. Maybe he's just
that's
a tyrant. That's just the way he does it. Well, you said it. You said it. Maybe it's that. That's a good question, though. That's a fair question that needs to be addressed, and I'm sure they will.
And I'm sure that this is still very early as far as the story, so I think you're going to hear some other players come forward, and you're going to hear some more statements from the staff.
And I'll speak on, I don't want to speak for you guys, but my message to Iowa is if you got anybody from Iowa that wants to come on our radio show, well, I'm here. Anytime. If you want Kirk Ferentz, Broderick Binge, Chris Doyle, Gary Barta, if anyone from Iowa's listening, we're on Monday. I have no guests right now. We're on Monday from 9 to anyone. My guess is
9 to 10:30.
But no, you bring up a good point, though, caller, and that's something that they're going to have to look into.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Yeah. I thought about that.
I mean, Felicia Goodson said that Tyler's experiences with Chris have been very good.
And she raved about Kirk Ferentz. And when you're a mother sending your kid from Georgia all the way that far away, you have to really trust the coaches in the environment that you're sending them to. I mean, any parent, but the distance from home just adds to the
angst.
Yeah, I mean, it really does. And she's done nothing but speak highly of the coaches here. And Tyler came here, earned his role on the field, and they rewarded him by more playing time. By the end of the year, he was starting, showing that if you do take care of business, that you can get playing time. So we are in the very, very early stages of this thing. And my guess is I wouldn't surprise me if sometime down the road you see a tweet or something from a James saying that I've had some great discussions with people at Iowa. I think we're moving in the right direction. I think
you're
see
going
that
to see that soon.
I think you're going to see that soon. Hopefully you see that.
Well, in his little statement yesterday, Kirk Ferentz said
he's already had.
I'm already reaching out to hear some of the individual stories.
Mm-hmm.
So, so that the process has begun, and they're going to have some difficult discussions, and as you said earlier, Pat, maybe some difficult decisions.
Yeah, I mean, it could be decisions, and it could be at the least Chris Doyle maybe having to change the way he operates.
Hello.
Patience.
So, yeah.
Patience? It just rang once.
Mediacom.
Hello.
Hey, guys.
Hey. Hello.
Hey, I will just tell you that knowing an incident that happened with some high school kids a few years back.
Where?
Here in Iowa City?
Here in town.
Okay.
Here in Iowa City, it was a group of high school kids that in their social interactions, some of them got into trouble, some of them flirted with it a little bit, but some of the things that Chris did and said to some of those other high school kids, I felt it was a little bit over the top.
Why would Chris Doyle why would he be talking to high school kids?
When his kid was in high school.
Oh, okay.
What did he say?
Chris I think growing up in this town, you tend to idolize the leadership, right? The staff.
Well,
and
I've never been big on idol, but I get what you're saying.
But they're maybe a little bit exalted, if you will.
Okay, what did he say?
Right.
What did he say?
With a large group of kids, one kid was singled out in a way that was pretty insensitive. And
was he black?
Really, no. All it really had to do was kind of a misunderstanding, but it was taken so far to put this other kid out there. And now you've got a group of kids who are treating each other differently, and as an adult, it's your opportunity to maybe help them mend fences rather than ostracize the kid, And
what did he say?
But you can't tell us what he said? You don't feel right? Or
It wasn't individual things that were said. It was the effort to make the other kid the outcast that was just really disappointing. It gave me a glimpse of...
Well, why do you think he went after that one kid?
Largely as there needed to be a scapegoat, so you arbitrarily pick one. And that's what was so unfortunate for this kid is...
Oh, so he just picked on him rather... It wasn't justified in your estimation.
That's the way I feel about it, that all the kids were getting in trouble, and this kid was singled out, and it was very unfortunate because it made the kid feel really bad and embarrassed and, impacted him for months and months in the future.
Well, that's unfortunate to hear.
It is.
But no, we appreciate you calling in. Appreciate your insight.
Yeah, it's important that we respect people and understand that it ripples. And I get it. People have to be tough, but man, the younger somebody is, I think.
No, you're right.
The more you got to cut them some slack.
No, you're right.
I agree with you, and I'm sure it's a fine line that a lot of coaches walk. And it is.
No, you're right. Yeah, you are
talked about my ex-coach.
No, we appreciate you sharing that.
Coach Collins, I hated him.
I'll tell you what though, and I'm gonna brag about my dad for a minute. God rest his soul. I was lucky to be raised by a man who got it. He understood. He really did. And part of it was because he grew up poor. He grew up around blacks. He played football with blacks. I've tweeted a couple of things when I was at Drake, I went to Dowling. And there was probably 2 blacks in my graduating class of 400. And I went to Drake, and I ended up forming a relationship. One of my best, you move into the dorms, you meet people. Mm-hmm. One of my best friends turned out to be a black guy from Sioux City. We turned out to be we liked playing basketball together. We actually, I used to love his Barry White music, and we really hit it off. And I remember going home one time and telling my dad how proud I was. That Dad, I thought you're going to be proud of me. I'm not a race. And you know what he said to me? He goes, the fact that you got to praise yourself for that is proof that you still have a lot of work to do. And that it really struck me, and stuff like that. I mean, there's certain things that my dad said to me over the years that I've been thinking about over these last 24 hours I'd love to get his spin on this thing right now, what his thoughts were, because he did not have a racist bone in his body.
What do you think he would say?
he would be concerned about the beat-down culture. And my dad was a football player through and through. Mm-hmm. He could say, leave it all out here, you wuss. But it wouldn't be based on anything outside of that moment on the field. It wouldn't be, oh, this guy is black, I'm going to say something different to him than this guy, if that's what's supposedly happening over at Iowa. I'm not saying it is. But my dad just didn't look at players any differently, and that's what I always admired about him. And I've told you what he told me, with his personality, his pride, and his no way I'm going to take crap from anybody. And he was tough. He said, he goes, if I was born black in the neighborhood I grew up in and with my attitude and what have you, that days, 30s and 40s, I wouldn't have seen my 20th birthday. He goes, I just wouldn't have put up with it, and they would have killed me. And that stuff stuck with me. So when I see this stuff, this is a big story, and it does need to be told. And the people blaming the media for, the media is just doing their job. And people saying that, well, we should have sniffed this out. I mean, I'm not going to make excuses for it, even though I am again, but it's not as easy as you think when the players aren't saying anything.
No. Yeah, what
you can't just,
sniff
go up there on Tuesday, hey, Steve Rowe, I'm going to go a little off angle here with all my questions. We're going to ask if there's racism in the Iowa football program. Can you help me set up? It's not as easy as you think. Yeah, I wish we would. I wished I would have seen more of this. I wish James Daniels would have felt comfortable enough to say something when he was here, but he obviously didn't, and I understand that. He wanted to get to the NFL. That's where he is now. And these people saying, well, why didn't you just leave? It's not that simple.
No, and another thing to point out, too, is of the 7 or 8 statements that we've read here this morning, or a little more, maybe even, some of them half of them are from NFL players
who are millionaires,
and half of them are guys that washed out of the program.
Yeah,
and so it's, there is it sure smacks of the truth, doesn't it?
It does, and it'll be interesting to see by the time we come back on Monday
how different it's going to be.
I'm getting ready to launch HawkFanatic.com, and one of the big things I wanted to present was my all-Kirk Ferentz team, and I'm still going to do it, but this just kind of does it sort of the timing of it couldn't be any worse.
Yeah, it couldn't, but
I'm still going to do it. I'm still going to do it. I mean, you can't, you got to, we want to try to have as much fresh new content as we can, and at some point I'm going to have to sit down and write a column about this thing too, but I'm not sure when we're going to launch. I'm hoping by like next Wednesday, but if I write something now, it's going to be a lot different on Tuesday, so I'm going to kind of wait and see if things continue to evolve, which I think they will. But again, thanks to Felicia Goodson for calling in. We really appreciate her insight, and thanks to all the callers. Good stuff, and we'll be back on Monday to continue to address this, I'm sure.
And we will. And any further developments, we will have them. All right, thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. Safe.
You're listening to Iowa City's local radio station, Iowa City's 1630 KCJJ.
This is CBS News on the Hour, your home for original reporting.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez in upstate New York. A massive protest is expected in Washington, D.C. today.
Definitely feeling hopeful. I have those feelings of anger. I have those feelings of sadness, but what am I here for?
Mayor Muriel Bowser has renamed the streets around the White House Black Lives Matter Plaza. The words are painted in giant yellow letters on 16th Street. After days of unrest and tension in Atlanta, National Guard troops joined protesters dancing the Macarena right before the 8 p.m. curfew. A call for peaceful remembrance for the man whose death